Hey, what's up, y'all? Today we're gonna be reacting to 3 true Tinder date horror stories animated by IMR Scary Tales. Now, I have had a couple. I've had my fair share of link ups with the Tinder tenderonis. You feel me?
Stop the cap. Stop the cap right now. Stop the cap.
But anything crazy? I don't think anything crazy has happened. If it has, I can't remember it right now, so I'm not even gonna yap too much. Roll my intro.
I'm not proud of how lonely I got after my breakup. I'm 40 and work in tech. Let's just say I don't exactly light up a room. After the end of a 5-year relationship, I hit a pretty low place. That's when I downloaded Tinder. I used Tinder as a temporary distraction from serious relationships. And one day, I met Darla. She was 35 with red hair, kinda...
Hold up. Why Darla look like a skeleton? See? That's just proof that y'all will crack anything.
Come on now, dog. Come on, man.
Well, crack anything, because, no. Darla looks like she's barely alive.
And a smile that somehow made me feel seen. A little quirky, sure. She said she lived in an old farmhouse on the outskirts of town and cared for her paralyzed grandfather. She was funny, honest, and actually seemed interested. After a couple of casual dates...
Look like Darla smoke a lot of cigarettes. What y'all think? Bro, I feel like Darla breath.
She invited me to stay over at her place. She said it would be nice to cook me something homemade, and she didn't like leaving her grandpa alone at night. I hesitated for a second, thinking how fast it was moving, but I was craving connection, so I agreed. The farmhouse was far into the woods. It looked old but cozy, surrounded by a rustic charm. She greeted me with a kiss and a warm smile, then showed me around. The living room was full of antiques. The kitchen smelled like herbs and raw meat. She said she was making stew, her grandfather's favorite. That's when I first...
Why do I already get the feeling like her grandpa is the stew? I feel like her grandfather is the stew. Let's see if I'm right. But I just want to, real quick, bro, I've never had, like, no actual relationship that is formed from Tinder. Or any social media dating site, for that matter. Like, I don't think you can truly meet anybody of substance that way. Like, your best bet is to get out and...
I'm gonna come. Oh.
Go meet some real people. But, hey.
Noticed something strange. Big chunks of raw meat sitting out on the counter. No fridge, no ice. I asked if she was going to put them away.
Nah, the doctor prescribed it that way. Grandpa's on a full meat diet, you know?
As night came, the farmhouse grew eerily quiet. We sat on the couch and talked, but my eyes kept drifting to the hallway, to Grandpa's door. She said he was paralyzed, couldn't speak, and hadn't left his bed in years. But I never once heard him. No creaks, no coughs, nothing.
Right.
I was the first
y'all know
one
the
to
deal.
ever join the military.
Y'all go like the video so I can get premium.
I knew that I...
At around 11, she got up, saying she needed to change her grandpa into sleeping clothes and give him his medicines. After she left, I started to feel bored, so I wandered around the house. I walked over to the basement door.
See, why do y'all do that? Why? When y'all get bored in random people's house, y'all go exploring people's houses. That's how you end up in situations you don't want to end up in. If you leave me alone in your house, I am sitting right there. I'm not moving unless I'm asking to, like, know where your bathroom is. I'm not finna just go randomly looking around your crib. What is wrong with people? Like, are y'all not raised with manners?
Huh?
Like, are y'all not raised with common decency? What makes you just get the inkling to go looking around somebody's house all randomly and shit? See, some of y'all be deserving this.
Out of curiosity, I opened the door and a wave of reeking odor hit me in the face. It smelled like something died down there. I grabbed my phone for light and started down the wooden stairs. As I descended, my knees started trembling. There were jars, dozens of them, filled with what looked like human parts. Fingers, eyeballs, and pieces of flesh floating in cloudy red fluid. There were crates stacked with bones. Some still had blood and skin on them. And hanging from the ceiling on rusted meat hooks
What?
were human torsos, cut open, ribs exposed. One still had a wedding ring on. I threw up right there.
See? Look, and this is also why I don't use Tinder anymore. Like, just because I've seen too many stories. I've read a lot. I've watched videos like this. And I've experienced meeting some crazy individuals on Tinder, some crazy girls. Like, I've met some crazy girls on Tinder. Nothing this extreme, but I have met some crazy ones on Tinder. I might tell you, you know what? I might tell y'all about that one day. Y'all let me know if y'all want to hear that story.
What the hell? Suddenly, I heard a sound upstairs. The bathroom door swung shut. I rushed up the stairs, locked the basement door again, and returned to the couch just in time. Darla smiled at me.
Everything okay?
No.
I forced a grin. Yeah, just stretching my legs. My brain was screaming. I needed to get out, fast. But I noticed a deadbolt on the front door, and there was no key in sight. I didn't want to raise suspicion, so I told her I was worn out and asked if I could lie down. She agreed and led me down the hallway, right past her grandfather's room. The door of the room was open, and I saw this small window near the bed. The window was just large enough for me to climb through, which was likely my only escape route. She pointed me at the guest room across the hall.
I'll be back in a minute with blankets. Just make yourself at home.
As soon as she left, I tiptoed into Grandpa's room. It was pitch black. I used my phone again, low brightness. He was lying in bed. His face was hidden behind a curtain hanging from the ceiling, like in hospitals. There were stacked up plates under his bed with flies buzzing on them. My blood curled, thinking I was in the same room with the cannibal. I kept my eyes on him and moved toward the window. It was old and stiff, but I managed to slide it open inch by inch without making much noise. I was almost done when I heard slow, raspy breathing coming from the bed. I froze. I looked back, and without warning, the man's head turned. It snapped to the side like a doll. His eyes opened wide, and I swear on my life, he smiled. Not a soft smile, a grotesque, crooked grin that...
See, Grandpa would like, yeah, cause I don't know, Grandpa might be a vampire or some shit. Grandpa looks like a vampire. So we gotta, deal with that problem as soon as it arises. Sorry, Grandpa.
Stretched too far. His teeth were sharp and filthy, like they'd grown past what was human. I panicked and climbed out the window, scraping my arm on the way down. I didn't stop to look back. I just ran through the woods until I hit the main road. I hitchhiked to a gas station from where I called the cops. They went back to the house that night. Here's the part I still don't understand. When they got there, the house was empty. Darla, Grandpa, and the horror in that basement were all gone. They said the place hadn't been lived in for years. They showed me property records. The last listed owner was a man named Roy Miller, a butcher. He had been paralyzed after a farm accident in the late 90s. He died in 2003. And Darla? There was no record of anyone with that name connected to the property. No license, no social, nothing. I check the news every week for...
I always wonder, like, how do they move all of that stuff? Like, because it'd be whole houses full of shit, right? How do they move everything out to where you don't see a trace of nothing? Unless this nigga is just crazy. It was imagine a whole text message thread that led him to this house where he imagined this Darla and her grandpa person. Then at that point, lock him up. Lock him up, because he's crazy. He needs to be under psychiatric care. Or am I tripping? Because that never makes sense to me in any type of medium, movie, whatever. It never makes sense. How do they clean up so perfectly you don't see in such a short amount of time? How do they clean up so perfectly you don't see a trace of nothing?
That was a f***ing lie.
Stories about missing men, and I can't use dating apps anymore. But sometimes, at night, I'll dream about that house. And in the dream, I'm back in that room, staring into those wide, dead eyes of that old cannibal as the broken grin slowly stretches across his face.
Alright.
This happened about 4 months ago, and even now, I still double-check every window before going to bed. It started with a Tinder match. His name was Liam. He was a photographer, the artsy kind. His profile was filled with striking black and white portraits, mostly people, but the way he captured emotion in their eyes, it was impressive. He was a smooth talker, and our conversations were engaging. It wasn't pushy like some of the other guys I'd met on Tinder before. So when he invited me for dinner at his place, I said yes. He was excited to show me some of his...
Hold on. First red flag. If they trying to invite you over to the crib on the first link up, male or female, I see it as a red flag. Because I feel like for shorties, that's a setup tactic. I don't know you. You don't know me. You don't know if I'm big, creepy, and scary. I don't know if you're crazy and psychotic.
Wait a minute. Who are you?
So I don't do the whole meeting online and then meeting in person at each other's houses for the first link. No, meet me outside, baby. Let's go to a coffee shop. You know, chit chat, shoot the shit over some goddamn sandwiches or some shit. You feel me? But yeah, I don't know. See, that's how y'all can save yourselves a lot of danger and frustration.
Published work. Honestly, I was flattered. I'd been through a bad breakup recently, and the attention felt nice. It was a Saturday night. Liam's apartment was in a quiet building just outside the city. The inside was very minimalist. Clean white walls, just enough furniture and locked.
Why? Why does he look like this? Because if I walk in and somebody looks like this, bro, I swear. Come on now. Why do the normal everyday people gotta look
the black
scary
frames
shit
everywhere? Once I started observing the photos, a weird feeling crept into my mind.
Keanu Reeves?
That's what made me feel a bit off. The photos. There were dozens of them, lined up perfectly. Every inch of the wall seemed to have a face staring back at me. They weren't normal portraits either. They looked private. A woman brushing her teeth, a man staring out of a dark window, a kid sleeping on a couch, all black and white, all incredibly sharp, and all deeply unsettling, as none of them were looking at the camera. I remembered standing in front of one photo, a woman undressing in what looked like her bedroom.
Wow. Your models do know how to pose, huh? Looks so natural.
They aren't models, they're real people. He smiled, almost proud. I laughed, thinking he was joking.
So how did you capture them?
Secretly, through windows. It's the...
Alright, so first of all, he tells you they're not models, they're real people, and you see a kid sleeping, somebody taking off their clothes, somebody else brushing their teeth. He's telling you they're not modeling. Sign number one. And then you talking about they know how to pose. He's like, they're not posing. I got these by being creepy. See, the thing is, when somebody tells you who they are, believe them. Stop thinking that everybody playing with you. Stop thinking that everything is a joke. That's what be getting a lot of y'all done in the worst way. Cause y'all be thinking everything is a damn game, and it's not. See, now I feel like she kind of just asking for whatever come to her. She's not using common sense. She's not even listening for real.
Best way, honestly. I felt a cold shiver run down my spine. He poured us wine and served pasta. I kept picking up my plate.
You're eating?
My appetite was gone. Every now and then, he'd glance over my shoulder like he was checking the light. Then, he started justifying his peeping Tom behavior for the sake of art. You see, I don't believe in posed photos. Real emotion happens when people don't know they're being watched. That's when they're most vulnerable. I asked if he had ever gotten caught. Once, he said, sipping his wine. She was angry, but I apologized and made it up to her. That's
Why
when
you look
my
like the
gut
Joker?
screamed at me to leave. I thanked him for dinner and said I needed to get going, but Liam stood up quickly, blocking the front door. Wait, before you go, I want to show you my masterpiece. My heart dropped. I smiled politely and nodded, pretending to be curious. All the while, I was trying to come up with an excuse, something to get out fast. As he turned toward a hallway, I quietly slipped a fork off the table and hid it in my sleeve. He led me to a door at the end of the hall. Even before he unlocked it with a key, I could smell something awful behind it. That was red flag number 200. The room was dimly lit. The smell was choking my nostrils, like something rotten had been soaked in chemicals. The moment the door creaked open, I knew I wasn't safe. There was a chair in the center of the room, and a woman was on it. At first, I thought she was alive, but her skin was gray. Her limbs were swollen. Her head was tilted, and she had this horrible, stiff smile on her face. Her eyes were fixated on me. Her eyeballs were filled with red veins and opened too wide. When I looked closer, I noticed movement inside her mouth. For a second, I thought she was really alive, but then her mouth moved slowly. Suddenly, her jaw flung open, and clouds of maggots dripped to the floor. Tiny maggots wriggled through her hair, too. She was wearing a red bathing suit, like she had been at the beach, but now she was posed like a mannequin, propped up like a trophy. I felt the fork slide from my hand and hit the floor. Liam stepped inside, eyes glowing with sick joy.
You'd be way too
She's
surprised
beautiful,
about shit.
right? He whispered. I caught her swimming alone 2 summers ago. I watched her for weeks before I made my move. Look at that expression. Fear, trust, confusion, all frozen forever. I couldn't breathe or blink. My brain kept trying to...
See, this is where Liam has to get done the worst way. Get your little fork that you dropped right there. Right there in the jugular. Like, I don't think you'd be morally, you wouldn't be committing a crime. You'd just be helping out. You know, taking one less bad person off this earth. But, hey, I mean...
Tell me this was fake, a sick art piece. But it wasn't. The smell was real. The flies were real. And so was the psychopath standing next to me. He kept talking, laughing like it was the best moment of his life. Suddenly, something even more horrifying happened. I guessed it was the decomposition or the outside air getting in that room. But the woman's face suddenly slothed off her skull, revealing the rotten flesh and bone underneath. I screamed and ran for the door. Liam's voice echoed behind me. Where are you going? There's no need to be scared. I can fix this. I'll glue it up. I thought you understood me. I sprinted out of the door straight to the street. I flagged down a couple driving by, screaming like a lunatic. They called the cops while I sat shaking in their back seat. When the cops arrived, I took them back to the apartment, but Liam was gone. The girl's body, the photos, were still there. My half-eaten plate of pasta was still resting on the table. They searched for weeks, put out alerts, and talked to neighbors. No one really knew him. He had only lived there a few months, paid in cash. I believe he even gave me a fake name. To this day, they haven't found him. But here's the part that really haunts me. About a month after everything happened, I received a package, no return address. Inside was a single photograph. It was me, sitting at a cafe with a coworker. I could tell the photo had been taken from outside.
Hold up, wait. Sasuke? Not she. Not Sasuke Uchiha just out here chilling. Just out here chilling, getting randomly photographed. They thought I wasn't gonna notice. Come on.
The window.
In my first startup, I was so broke I couldn't pay attention.
I don't
Maxed out my
care.
credit cards, borrowed
Didn't
from
care.
friends and
Didn't ask. Didn't ask.
I'm a 19-year-old female who just got into college, and so far I was living a pretty normal life. I enjoy makeup and horror movies, and I often joke about them with my friends. I recently got on Tinder. It started as a joke with my roommates. They'd said I'd receive a ton of matches because I'm the hot one. I didn't think much of it because I've always been used to the attention. As I walked through the hallway in my shorts, I noticed that some boys would gaze at me with smiles, while some girls appeared visibly displeased. But once I went live on Tinder, I didn't expect my phone to blow up with notifications. I mostly ignored the weird guys. I just flirted a little to pass the time. But then I got a message from someone with the username @DevotedBlood.
Hold on. Hold up. Like, it's crazy how much of an AI story is. Because, like, it has, like, whatever.
Isn't that an intriguing name? I believe that the profile was fake. It had no pictures, just a black and white rose for the profile pic. But the first message was kind of poetic. I saw you. You're brighter than the moon and darker than sin.
Block immediately. You ain't even got a profile picture? That was my whole thing. Like, when I was perusing, the channels of Tinder, bruh, if you ain't got a profile picture, you ain't got no bio, you ain't got none of, like, if you ain't got a profile picture, no. You ain't got a bio, that's highly decreasing your chances because I don't know nothing about you. But you ain't got both? Hell yeah, block.
I rolled my eyes, but decided to strike up a conversation just for fun.
Smooth. You write that in every girl's DMs?
He replied instantly.
Hell
no,
yeah.
Only you. What followed were long messages, obsessive. I'd received love letters, poems, and even drawings.
Red
At
flags.
first, I laughed about it with my friends. It was harmless, or so I thought. But then he started sending photos, notes written on crumpled paper, smeared in what he said was blood. One had my name written over and over again, like in some horror movie. Another said, "I'll never let anyone else have you."
This is Anya.
At that point, I unmatched him. I believe the message was from an angsty teenager trying to appear edgy. But then, the texts started coming through WhatsApp. Same username, same poems. One night, I was lying in my room.
Hey, real quick, y'all. What is WhatsApp for? Like, what do people even really use WhatsApp for? I've never used WhatsApp, never had a reason to. Like, can any of y'all genuinely tell me what WhatsApp is for? I know it's like supposed to be an alternative for like having a phone number or something like that, but I still don't understand what it is.
Scrolling through reels. I went home for the holidays and my mom was away on a work trip. Suddenly, I got texts from him again. "Do you know how crazy I am for you? I love you." I was in no mood to further encourage this creepy stranger, so I sent,
I bet you aren't man enough to actually show your face, loser.
It was just a petty message meant to irritate him. Like, what could he really do? 5 minutes later, my doorbell rang. It was around 12:30 tonight. I was home alone. My heart dropped. I went downstairs, trying to be as quiet as
Said you on the
possible,
bed?
and peeked into the peephole. I didn't see anyone outside. I gently cracked open the door. My eyes wandered over the empty porch, and then I looked down at the ground beneath me. There was a red envelope sitting on the doorstep. I picked it up with shaking hands. It reeked of a mix of iron and something sour. Once I opened the letter, my palms got sweaty in fear. The words were written in blood, and it read, "Did you miss me?" I slammed the door shut and locked everything. My voice was breaking as I talked to the 911 dispatcher, almost on the verge of crying. She tried to calm me down and told me to stay on the line until officers arrived. I moved away from the front and turned off all the lights, hoping whoever was out there would think I wasn't home. But then I made a mistake. I went to check the backyard window. and there was indeed
hell?
someone. It was a guy standing shirtless in the middle of the yard, completely still. He was
Bro.
merely focusing his gaze on my window. I couldn't scream. I couldn't move. I just watched in frozen horror. I grabbed a flashlight and flicked it on him. The beam hit his chest first, and I saw my name was carved into his skin.
Bro, he looked
Trails
like
of flesh blood oozed from every single letter. K.
he looked like Michael Jackson in the Thriller music video. Yeah.
I-A-R-A. It looked like it had been done with something jagged, like a knife or glass. As I moved the flashlight to his face, he slowly lifted his head, and it wasn't some stranger. It was my best friend's stepdad, Alan, the same guy who used to drive us to school,
What?
who always stood a little too close, and who one time told me, "You look older than 19. The one who once commented on my Instagram selfie, "Beautiful, just like your mother." I had always felt something off about him, but I never imagined this. He gave me this twisted, almost childlike grin, like he was proud of what he'd done. I dropped the flashlight, screaming my lungs out. I rushed back in my room and crouched in the corner, crying like a 6-year-old. The cops arrived 5 minutes later, but he was already gone. They searched the yard and confiscated the letter and even discovered bloody footprints leading into the woods. I gave them all the details, the messages, the username, the notes, but they couldn't find anything linking @DevotedBlood to Alan. His number wasn't in my phone. The Tinder profile was already deleted. It was like he'd scrubbed everything. They issued a warrant, but he vanished. Surprisingly, he had quit his job and left my friend and her mom months back. My friend never talks about it. She can't even look at me in the eye. Her mom was taken in for questioning, but she claimed to know nothing. Weeks have gone by and I still live in fear. A few nights ago, I heard a noise at my window. I swear when I looked, I saw a shadow move away. The next morning, I found a white rose on my porch. It was soaked in human blood, tied to a note that simply said, "The blood may fade, but I never will." I'm getting a restraining order against him this weekend. My mom has told the cops to keep an eye on the guy and get him into custody the moment they spot him. I really hope he gets caught, so I can have sound sleep at night.
Oh yeah. Okay. So that was different, that man. But that's just proof that like when some bad stuff happens, it's more likely to be somebody close to you. But with that being said, man, y'all let me know what y'all think. Y'all like, comment, subscribe, man. Love y'all. Appreciate y'all. Grateful for y'all. For real. For real. And I'm out.